Jack Miller lost everything in a single moment, all because he stopped to help a woman being robbed. Fired for missing an important client meeting, this struggling single father was about to face his children with empty hands and an uncertain future. What began as an act of selfless courage would transform into something neither of them ever expected, turning a moment of professional disaster into a journey that would heal broken hearts. Before we go any further, comment where in the world you are watching from and make sure to subscribe because tomorrow's story is one you can't miss. Jack Miller checked his watch and muttered under his breath. Already 25 minutes late to pick up the twins from after-school care, and every 15 minutes meant another $25 in late fees he couldn't afford. His boss had insisted on last-minute changes to the quarterly report, and Jack had no choice but to comply. Come on," he whispered, weaving through downtown foot traffic as he jogged toward Oak Ridge Elementary. His sensible but worn dress shoes slapped against the pavement, the sound matching the rapid beat of his anxious heart. 3 years as a single dad had taught Jack the precarious art of balancing work, children, finances, and the constant, gnawing fear that one misstep would send everything tumbling down. Since Melissa had walked out on them, declaring family life too restricting, he'd been holding their world together with determination and very little sleep. When he finally burst through the doors of the after-school program, Emma and Ethan sat side by side on a bench, their little legs swinging in unison. "Daddy!" they cried, identical blue eyes lighting up. Mrs. Winters, the after-school coordinator, gave Jack a sympathetic but firm look as she handed him the late slip. "That'll be $50, Mr. Miller. Second time this month." "I know. I'm sorry. The report—" He stopped himself. Excuses wouldn't change anything. "I'll pay tomorrow morning." As they stepped out into the late afternoon sunshine, Emma tugged on his sleeve. "Dad, can we get ice cream?" "Not today, Princess," Jack said, forcing a smile. "We need to get home for dinner." "Mac and cheese again?" Ethan asked, his face scrunching up. Jack ruffled his son's sandy hair. "With hot dogs cut up in it. Your favorite." It wasn't their favorite anymore, not after 3 nights in a row, but the twins nodded without complaint. They were good kids, too good sometimes. At 7 years old, they already seemed to understand the weight their father carried. They were cutting through the shopping district, taking their usual shortcut, when Jack noticed a commotion outside Heartland Bakery. A young woman with chestnut hair was struggling with a hooded figure who had grabbed her purse. "Let go!" she shouted, her voice both frightened and defiant. Without thinking, Jack kneeled down to the twins. "Stay right here by the wall. Don't move." He placed their backpacks against the building. "I mean it. Don't move an inch." Then Jack was running, adrenaline propelling him forward. The thief had yanked the purse free and was turning to flee when Jack tackled him from behind. They crashed to the sidewalk, Jack using his body weight to pin the man down. "Help!" Emma's clear voice rang out. "Someone help my daddy!" The thief twisted violently, managing to free one arm. He struck Jack hard across the jaw, momentarily stunning him. In that instant, the man scrambled free, dropping the purse as he sprinted away down an alley. Jack sat up, dazed, touching his throbbing jaw. A small crowd had gathered, and someone helped him to his feet. "Are you all right?" The woman from the bakery crouched beside him, her green eyes wide with concern. That was incredibly brave, and a little reckless. "I'm fine," Jack assured her, glancing toward the twins who remained obediently by the wall, their eyes huge. "Emma, Ethan, it's okay now." The twins rushed over, wrapping themselves around his legs. "You were like a superhero, Dad," Ethan exclaimed. Jack felt his phone vibrating insistently in his pocket. Pulling it out, he saw 5 missed calls from his boss, Gerald. The client meeting. He'd completely forgotten about the video call scheduled for 4:30. "I need to make a quick call," he said, feeling panic rise in his throat. The woman from the bakery seemed to read his expression. "I can watch them for a minute," she offered. "I'm Olivia, by the way. Olivia Barnes." Jack hesitated, then nodded gratefully. "Jack Miller. And these are Emma and Ethan." He stepped a few feet away and returned the call, his stomach knotting as Gerald answered with a bark. "Where the hell were you, Miller? The Sanderson account was specifically requesting your input." Gerald's voice was tight, with barely controlled fury. "I'm sorry. There was an emergency with—" "Save it. Do you know what happened?" "They walked. Our biggest client walked because you couldn't be bothered to show up." "Sir, please, if I could just explain—" "You're fired, Miller. Clean out your desk tomorrow." The call ended abruptly, leaving Jack staring at his phone in disbelief. 5 years at the firm, countless overtime hours, working weekends, all gone in a 30-second phone call. When he turned back to the twins, Jack forced his face into neutrality. But something must have shone through. "Are you okay?" Olivia asked quietly, one hand resting protectively on Emma's shoulder. Jack looked at his children, then at this kind stranger who had no idea she'd just witnessed the collapse of their precarious stability. "I'm fine," he lied, his voice surprisingly steady despite the panic flooding his system. "Everything's fine." But the gentle concern in Olivia's eyes told him she didn't believe him for a second. "You must let me thank you properly," Olivia insisted, handing Emma a chocolate chip cookie from the bakery display case. "Dinner tonight, at my place. It's the least I can do after what you did." Jack shook his head, though his stomach betrayed him with a rumble. "That's really not necessary. Anyone would have done the same." "But they didn't," Olivia pointed out. "You did. While everyone else stood filming with their phones." She gestured toward a teenage boy who was still recording them from across the street. Jack sighed, running a hand through his sandy brown hair. The twins were already munching happily on the cookies Olivia had given them, chocolate smeared across their identical grins. The thought of another night of boxed mac and cheese suddenly seemed unbearable. "All right," he conceded. "But nothing fancy." Olivia beamed. "Excellent! And there's something else." She lowered her voice, glancing at the twins who were now pressing their faces against the glass display of pastries. "I couldn't help overhearing your phone call. I need someone to help me organize my bookkeeping here at the bakery. It would just be temporary while you job hunt, but—" "You don't have to do that," Jack interjected quickly, pride stiffening his spine. "We'll be fine." "I'm not offering charity," Olivia said firmly. "I'm drowning in receipts and invoices. I need professional help, and you look like you could use some work." "It's a fair exchange." Jack studied her face, searching for pity, but finding only sincerity. I'll think about it." That evening, after stopping at home so Jack could change out of his suit and wash the scrape on his face from the scuffle, they followed Olivia's directions to a charming craftsman-style house on the edge of town. Jack had expected something modest, given her bakery owner status, but this house spoke of old money, with its perfectly manicured garden and wraparound porch. "Your house is like a castle," Emma exclaimed as they approached the front door. Olivia laughed, the sound warm and genuine. "Hardly a castle, but thank you." "Come in, dinner's almost ready." Inside, the twins gasped at the spacious rooms filled with tasteful furniture and what Jack recognized as original artwork on the walls. In the dining room, the table was already set with fine china that made Jack nervous about the twins' tendency to knock things over. "I hope you like lasagna," Olivia called from the kitchen. "It's my grandmother's recipe." "We love all food," Ethan announced, climbing onto a chair with careful movements. As they ate, Jack couldn't help noticing framed photographs on a sideboard. One showed Olivia shaking hands with the mayor. Another featured her standing beside an older man in an expensive suit, outside a massive corporate building with Prescott Foods emblazoned across the entrance. "That's quite a collection of photos," Jack remarked, between bites of the best lasagna he'd ever tasted. "You know the mayor?" Olivia followed his gaze and set down her fork with a sigh. "I suppose I should come clean." She turned to face him directly. "My full name is Olivia Prescott Barnes. My father is William Prescott of Prescott Foods." Jack nearly choked on his garlic bread. Prescott Foods was his former employer's biggest competitor, a corporate giant that dominated the regional food industry. "You're a Prescott? But the bakery is my rebellion, according to my father," Olivia finished with a small smile. "He gave me 1 year to make it profitable on my own, or I have to sell it and take my place at corporate headquarters. I have 3 months left, and I'm still struggling with the financial side of things." She leaned forward. "That's why I need someone with your expertise, Jack." "How did you know I have expertise in finance?" Jack asked suspiciously. "I heard you mention the Sanderson account. They're one of the biggest financial firms in the region. Plus, the way you talked about the quarterly report, I put 2 and 2 together." Emma tugged on Jack's sleeve. "Daddy, can I have more juice, please?" Jack absently passed her the glass, his mind racing. Working for a Prescott, even indirectly, felt like a betrayal of his former company. And yet, with no job and 2 children to support, the position would be full-time, Olivia continued, "flexible hours, and the twins would be welcome at the bakery. I've been meaning to set up a small childcare area anyway." "Why are you doing this?" Jack asked, his voice low so the children wouldn't hear. "You don't even know me." Olivia's green eyes held his steadily. "Because sometimes people deserve a break. And frankly, I need the help. 3 months left, and I'm nowhere near the profit margins my father demanded." She smiled ruefully. "Consider it enlightened self-interest." Jack looked at his children, happily devouring homemade cookies for dessert. Emma had a smudge of chocolate on her cheek. Ethan was carefully arranging his cookie crumbs into a smiley face. They deserved stability, not a father frantically job-hunting while their savings dwindled. "When do I start?" he asked, the decision suddenly crystal clear. Olivia's smile could have lit the room. "Tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock. And this is where the magic happens," Olivia declared, pushing open the swinging door to the bakery kitchen the next morning. The rich scent of butter and vanilla enveloped them as they entered the warm space. Emma and Ethan pressed close to Jack's legs, momentarily shy in the new environment. It was their first time inside Heartland Bakery, though they'd passed it countless times on their walks downtown. "It smells like heaven," Jack said, genuinely impressed. The kitchen was spotless, with industrial mixers and a massive oven that looked recently updated. "Morning, Ms. Olivia," called a plump older woman with flour-dusted hands who was expertly rolling out pastry dough. "These must be our new visitors. Marge, this is Jack Miller and his twins, Emma and Ethan. Jack's going to be handling our finances, and these two," Olivia knelt down to the children's level, "are going to be our official taste testers, if that's okay with you." The twins' eyes widened, and their shyness evaporated instantly. "Really?" Ethan asked, bouncing on his toes. "Absolutely," Olivia nodded solemnly. "But first, let me show you something special I set up." She led them through the kitchen to a small alcove near the back that had been transformed into a cozy children's corner. A child-sized table with chairs, colorful bins filled with toys and books, and a small sofa with pillows made the space inviting and comfortable. "I thought you two might like a space of your own while your dad helps me with grown-up work," Olivia explained. "You did all this yesterday?" Jack asked, astonished by her thoughtfulness. Olivia shrugged. The space was just storage for extra packaging. It didn't take much to clear it out. But Jack knew better. The children's books looked new, the toys carefully selected for their age. She'd gone out of her way to make his kids feel welcome. Now, Olivia continued brightly. "How would you two like to learn how to decorate cookies?" The twins cheered as Marge appeared with a tray of plain sugar cookies and several piping bags filled with colorful icing. "I'll get them started," Marge offered with a warm smile. "You two have work to do, I imagine." Jack followed Olivia to a small office tucked behind the front counter. The contrast with the pristine kitchen couldn't have been more stark. Papers were stacked haphazardly on every surface, receipts spilled from folders, and sticky notes covered the computer monitor. "I warned you," Olivia said, looking embarrassed. "Financial organization isn't my strong suit." Jack rolled up his sleeves. "Let's see what we're working with." For the next few hours, Jack sorted through months of financial records, creating organized piles while Olivia explained her current system, or lack thereof. Occasionally, peals of laughter from the kitchen told them the twins were enjoying their cookie decorating lesson. By lunchtime, Jack had a clearer picture of the bakery's situation. Olivia was a talented baker and had built a loyal customer base, but her pricing didn't adequately cover costs, and her inventory management was practically non-existent. "The good news is, you're not actually losing money," Jack explained as they took a break, sharing a sandwich at the small table in the front corner of the bakery. "The bad news is, you're not making nearly enough profit to satisfy someone like William Prescott." Olivia sighed, tucking a strand of chestnut hair behind her ear. "Dad expects a 15% profit margin minimum. I'm barely hitting 3. "We can fix this," Jack assured her. "Your recipes and quality are fantastic, but you're practically giving away your specialty items at these prices." Before Olivia could respond, Emma and Ethan burst from the kitchen, faces smeared with icing and eyes bright with excitement. "Daddy! Miss Olivia! Look what we made!" Emma thrust forward a cookie decorated with what appeared to be a multicolored blob with eyes. "It's a unicorn," she proclaimed proudly. "And mine's a dragon." Ethan held up a similarly abstract creation, this one predominantly green and red. "Those are amazing," Jack said, pulling them both into a one-armed hug. "We saved the best ones for you," Ethan said, handing Jack a slightly less colorful cookie. Emma presented one to Olivia with solemn ceremony. "Thank you," Olivia said, taking a bite. Perfect. You two are natural bakers." The pride on his children's faces made Jack's chest tighten. It had been too long since he'd seen them this carefree and happy. After closing that evening, with the twins contentedly coloring at their special table, Jack and Olivia sat down with fresh coffee to discuss his financial plan for the bakery. "If we raise prices on the specialty items by just 12%, adjust your supplier contracts, and implement a proper inventory system, we could double your profit margin within a month," Jack explained, showing her the spreadsheet he'd created. Olivia studied the numbers, impressed. "You did all this in one day?" "Finance is what I do," Jack said with a modest shrug. "Or did, anyway." "Well, I'm glad you're doing it for me now," Olivia smiled, her green eyes warm in the bakery's soft evening light. As they continued discussing the details, Jack found himself relaxing into the conversation. Olivia was smart and quick to grasp his suggestions, asking thoughtful questions that showed her genuine interest in learning. Driving home later, with 2 tired children nodding off in the back seat, Jack realized he hadn't thought about his lost job once all afternoon. Instead, his mind was filled with pricing strategies, marketing ideas for the bakery, and the way Olivia's eyes crinkled at the corners when she laughed. "I like Miss Olivia," Emma murmured sleepily from the back seat. "Me too," Ethan agreed. "Can we go back tomorrow?" "Yes," Jack said, a sense of rightness settling over him like a comfortable blanket. "We definitely can." 2 weeks passed in a blur of activity at Heartland Bakery. Jack arrived early each morning with the twins, who had quickly established their own routine, helping Marge with simple tasks before settling into their corner with books or crafts. The child care area now boasted a growing collection of their artwork taped to the walls. Jack had completely reorganized the bakery's finances, renegotiating supplier contracts for better rates, and implementing a proper inventory system using a simple spreadsheet program. He'd analyzed sales data to identify which items sold best at different times of day and adjusted production accordingly. The results were already showing. Daily revenue had increased by nearly 20%, while costs had decreased. "These numbers are incredible," Olivia said, reviewing the weekly report Jack had prepared. They were sitting at a table in the empty bakery after closing time, sharing the day's leftover blueberry scones. "At this rate, we'll exceed my father's profit demands with a month to spare." Jack allowed himself a small smile of pride. "Your products sell themselves. They just needed the right pricing and promotion." "You're being modest," Olivia insisted. "You've transformed this place." The bell above the door jingled, interrupting their conversation. Jack looked up, surprised to see his former boss, Gerald Reynolds, entering the bakery. "Sorry, we're closed," Olivia began, rising from her seat. "I'm not here for pastries," Gerald said, his gaze fixed on Jack. "I need to speak with Jack." Jack stood, instinctively straightening his posture. "Gerald, what can I do for you?" Gerald cleared his throat, looking uncharacteristically uncomfortable. "That video of you stopping the robbery has gone viral. The board saw it yesterday." He paused. "The Sanderson account asked about you specifically." Jack remained silent, waiting. "Look, we made a mistake," Gerald continued. "That kind of loyalty and quick thinking, it's exactly what our company values. We'd like to offer you your position back, with a promotion to senior financial analyst and a 15% raise." The offer hung in the air between them. 2 weeks ago, Jack would have accepted immediately, grateful for the reprieve. Now, he glanced at Olivia, whose face had gone carefully neutral. "I appreciate the offer," Jack said slowly. "Can I have some time to think about it?" Gerald nodded, handing Jack a business card. "Call me tomorrow, but don't wait too long. We need someone for the Sanderson meeting next week." After Gerald left, Jack and Olivia sat in silence for a long moment. "You should take it," Olivia finally said, though her voice lacked conviction. "That kind of stability for the twins." "Daddy!" Emma's voice interrupted as she burst through the kitchen door, Ethan close behind. They had been helping Marge clean up after a day of baking. "Can we have a sleepover at Miss Olivia's house someday? She has a garden with a fountain. And she said she might get a puppy," Ethan added excitedly. Jack laughed, despite the weight of the decision looming over him. "Let's not impose on Miss Olivia too much, guys." "They're never an imposition," Olivia said softly, her eyes meeting Jack's over the children's heads. That night, after putting the twins to bed, Jack sat at his kitchen table staring at Gerald's business card. The practical choice was clear. The corporate job offered better benefits, retirement matching, and the security of an established firm. But each time he reached for his phone, he found himself hesitating. He thought about the bakery, how it had come alive under their combined efforts. He thought about the twins, who now woke up excited for each day, rather than dragging their feet, as they had when he worked long hours at the firm. And he thought about Olivia, whose passion and kindness had created not just a business, but a community. The next morning, as they walked to the bakery, Emma skipped ahead, chattering about the cupcakes Marge had promised to let them decorate. "If we go back to your old job, will we still see Miss Olivia?" Ethan asked suddenly, his perceptiveness catching Jack off guard. Well, I haven't decided about the job yet," Jack admitted. Ethan's face fell. "But I like the bakery better. You smile more there." Out of the mouths of babes, Jack thought. When Gerald called that afternoon, Jack was organizing receipts in the small office. "Have you made a decision?" Gerald asked without preamble. Jack watched through the office window as Olivia helped the twins count inventory in the storage room, their laughter floating back to him. "Yes," Jack said firmly. "I appreciate the offer, but I've found something better suited to my family's needs right now." After hanging up, Jack felt lighter than he had in years. When he told Olivia he'd declined the offer, she tried to hide her relief. "Are you sure?" she asked. "I would have understood completely." Jack looked around at the bakery, at the space that had somehow become more than just a workplace in such a short time. "I'm sure," he said. "The twins are happier here. And honestly, so am I." What he didn't say, couldn't say yet, was that his decision had as much to do with the woman standing before him as with the bakery itself. "Try this," Olivia said, offering Jack a spoonful of something warm and cinnamon-scented from a small pot on the stove. They were in her kitchen a month after Jack had declined his old job, working on a new fall menu for the bakery. Jack leaned forward, allowing her to feed him the sample. Apple with cardamom? And a hint of bourbon," she confirmed, looking pleased at his discerning taste. "For the autumn apple hand pies." The kitchen counter was covered with recipe notes and taste test samples. The twins were already asleep on the sofa in Olivia's living room, worn out from an evening of helping with the menu development, which had mostly involved enthusiastic tasting. These after-hours working sessions had become their routine. Once the bakery closed and dinner was finished, Jack and Olivia would review the day's financials and plan upcoming promotions while the twins played nearby. More often than not, they ended up at Olivia's house, where the children inevitably fell asleep before the adults finished working. "The numbers for September are finalized," Jack said, returning to his laptop on the kitchen island. "Profit margin is just under 12%, 3 times what it was when I started." Olivia's face lit up. "That's incredible! We're actually going to make my father's target with time to spare." "Never doubted it," Jack said, though they both knew that wasn't entirely true. "Your seasonal specials are driving most of the growth. People can't get enough of your pumpkin maple muffins." Olivia moved closer to see the screen, her shoulder brushing against his. Jack tried to ignore the now familiar flutter in his chest at her proximity. Their working relationship had developed an easy camaraderie, punctuated by moments of something more. Neither had acknowledged it, but Jack found himself increasingly aware of every casual touch, every shared smile. "I've been thinking about expanding our corporate catering," Olivia said, pointing to a section of the spreadsheet. "If we could secure just 2 regular weekly orders, we'd boost revenue another 8%. "Smart," Jack nodded. "I know several firms that would jump at the chance." A small voice interrupted their planning. "Miss Olivia?" They turned to find Emma standing in the kitchen doorway, her hair tousled from sleep, clutching her stuffed bunny. "Hey, sweetheart," Olivia said softly, immediately kneeling to the child's level. "What's wrong?" "I had a dream that you went away," Emma said, her lower lip trembling. "Are you going to be our new mommy? Because I want you to stay forever." Jack froze, mortification washing over him. "Emma!" "It's okay," Olivia assured him, her cheeks flushed pink. She gently stroked Emma's hair. "I'm not going anywhere, sweet pea. I promise. But these things are complicated for grown-ups." "Why?" Emma persisted, with a child's directness. "Well," Olivia glanced at Jack, who was rooted to the spot. "Because your daddy and I work together, and we're friends, and sometimes grown-ups need time to figure things out." Emma seemed to consider this, then nodded solemnly. "Okay, but I hope you figure it out soon." Jack finally found his voice. "Let's get you back to sleep, princess." He scooped her up, giving Olivia an apologetic look over Emma's head. "I'm so sorry about that." Olivia waved away his concern, though her cheeks remained flushed. Children say what they think. It's refreshing, actually. After settling Emma back beside her brother, Jack returned to the kitchen, uncertain how to navigate the awkwardness Emma had inadvertently created. "Kids," he said with a forced laugh. "They have no filter." "Jack," Olivia began, then hesitated. The doorbell rang, startling them both. "At this hour?" Olivia frowned, checking her watch. It was nearly 10 p.m. She opened the front door to reveal a distinguished older man in an expensive overcoat, his silver hair impeccably groomed despite the late hour. "Dad?" Olivia's surprise was evident in her voice. "What are you doing here?" William Prescott stepped into the foyer, his assessing gaze immediately finding Jack. "I decided to check on your progress personally. My assistant mentioned your financial reports were showing remarkable improvement." His tone suggested skepticism rather than approval. "You could have called first," Olivia said, clearly flustered. "And missed seeing the real operation?" William replied, his gaze sweeping the house and settling on the children asleep on the sofa. "I see you've made some unconventional staffing choices." Jack stepped forward, extending his hand. "Jack Miller, sir. I handle the financial side of the bakery." William shook his hand with a firm grip. "Yes, I've heard. Former Anderson and Reed employee, correct? Until the Sanderson incident." Jack stiffened. Of course William Prescott would have investigated him. "Dad, let's talk in the study," Olivia intervened, shooting Jack an apologetic look. As they disappeared down the hallway, Jack busied himself cleaning up the kitchen, trying not to eavesdrop on the muffled conversation. He had just finished when Olivia returned alone, her expression troubled. "Everything okay?" Jack asked cautiously. "He wants to meet tomorrow at the bakery to review everything in person," she said. "And he'd like you to present the financial projections." "Not a problem," Jack assured her. "The numbers speak for themselves." "There's something else," Olivia added, her voice quiet. "He's offering me an executive position at Prescott Foods, starting immediately." Jack felt his stomach drop. "That's great. A big opportunity." "It would mean moving to Chicago," Olivia continued, her eyes searching his face. "Taking over the new product development division." The implications hung in the air between them, unspoken but unmistakable. Chicago was hundreds of miles away. And the twins! His chest tightened at the thought of telling them Olivia was leaving. "Well," Jack said finally, forcing a supportive smile, "your father must be impressed with what you've accomplished here." Olivia nodded slowly, but her eyes remained troubled as she watched Jack gather his things to wake the twins and head home. Olivia had been unusually quiet the next morning, busying herself with a massive order of pastries for the town's annual fall festival instead of discussing her father's offer. Jack respected her silence, focusing on preparing detailed financial projections for the meeting with William Prescott that afternoon. The twins sensed the tension and remained subdued as they helped Marge arrange cookie displays, occasionally casting worried glances at the adults. "Is Miss Olivia sad?" Ethan whispered to Jack when they stepped into the office to retrieve more napkins. Jack sighed, kneeling to his son's level. "She has a lot on her mind, buddy. Her dad wants her to take a very important job, but it's far away from here." Ethan's eyes widened with alarm. "But she can't leave. We need her." The simple truth in his son's words struck Jack forcefully. In just over a month, Olivia had become integral to their lives, not just as an employer, but as someone they all relied on, someone they all— "I know," Jack said softly, squeezing Ethan's shoulder. "I know." By closing time, the bakery was in controlled chaos as they prepared hundreds of pastries for the festival the next day. William Prescott had rescheduled their meeting for the morning, allowing them to complete the festival preparations first. "Last batch of cinnamon rolls is ready for proofing overnight," Marge announced, wiping flour from her hands onto her apron. "I'm heading out, unless you need anything else." "We're good, Marge. Thank you," Olivia said, checking items off a massive list. "Jack and I will finish the apple pies and lock up." As Marge left with the twins, who were spending the night at her house to give Jack time to work late, Silence descended over the bakery. Jack and Olivia worked side by side, rolling out pie dough and slicing apples in a rhythm they'd perfected over the past weeks. "Your father seemed impressed with the projections I emailed him," Jack ventured, unable to bear the strained silence any longer. Olivia nodded, crimping a pie edge with mechanical precision. "He was. Said you had a surprisingly sophisticated grasp of profit margins for a small business." "High praise from William Prescott," Jack said with a wry smile. "Have you thought about what you'll do?" Olivia asked suddenly, setting down her knife. "After the 3 months are up, I mean." Jack's hands stilled. "I assumed I'd stay on, if you wanted me to. The bakery's doing well enough to support both our salaries now. And if I take the Chicago position?" The question hung between them, heavy with implications. Jack carefully placed the apple slice he was holding into the pie filling. "Then I suppose I'd need to find another job," he said, striving for a neutral tone. "The twins like their school here, so we'd stay in town." "Jack," Olivia began, then stopped. He looked up to find her staring at him, flour dusting her cheek, her green eyes troubled. In that moment, exhausted and flour-covered in the bakery kitchen after hours of work, she had never looked more beautiful to him. "What?" he asked softly. "I don't want to go to Chicago," she admitted, the words rushing out. "The bakery is finally succeeding. The people here have become like family. The twins—" She took a deep breath. "And there's you." Jack felt his heart stutter. "Me? Don't make me spell it out," Olivia said, a hint of her usual spirit returning. "You know exactly what's been happening between us." Jack set down the pie he was working on and moved closer to her, close enough to see the golden flecks in her green eyes. "Tell me anyway," he said, needing to hear the words. "I'm falling for you, Jack Miller," Olivia said simply. "You and those amazing children of yours. And it terrifies me because I've worked my entire life to earn my place at Prescott Foods, and now that it's finally being offered—" She shook her head. "All I can think about is how much I'd miss this. Miss you." Relief and joy surged through Jack. He reached up to brush the flour from her cheek, his hand lingering against her skin. "We'd miss you too," he said, his voice rough with emotion. "More than I can say." The distance between them vanished as Jack leaned forward, pressing his lips gently against hers. Olivia responded immediately, her hands finding his shoulders as the kiss deepened, tasting of apples and cinnamon, and something uniquely their own. When they finally pulled apart, Olivia's eyes remained closed for a moment, a smile playing at the corners of her mouth. "Well," she said softly, opening her eyes to meet his gaze. "That certainly clarifies things." Jack laughed, feeling lighter than he had in years. "So, you'll stay?" "I'll tell my father tomorrow that I'm declining the offer," Olivia confirmed. "The bakery is where I belong, with you and the twins." The next day dawned bright and clear, perfect weather for the fall festival. The bakery's booth, decorated with autumn leaves and pumpkins, drew a constant stream of customers. Jack watched proudly as Olivia charmed the crowd, the twins helping to hand out samples with exaggerated care. When Olivia's phone rang late that afternoon, her father's name flashing on the screen, she stepped away from the booth to answer it. Jack continued serving customers, trying not to worry about the conversation happening just out of earshot. 10 minutes later, Olivia returned, her face pale. "What's wrong?" Jack asked immediately. "My father wants to see me first thing tomorrow morning," she said, her voice tight. "He sounded angry. About declining the position?" Olivia nodded, biting her lower lip. "He said he's reconsidering the bakery arrangement. I don't know what that means, but it didn't sound good." Jack squeezed her hand reassuringly. "Whatever it is, we'll handle it together." But the worry in Olivia's eyes remained, casting a shadow over what should have been a perfect day. Olivia returned from her meeting with her father, looking like she'd aged 5 years in a single morning. Jack was organizing inventory in the storage room when she walked in, her normally confident stride reduced to a defeated shuffle. "That bad?" he asked, setting down his clipboard. "Worse!" Olivia sank onto a nearby stool, her shoulders slumped. "He's selling the building." Jack stared at her, certain he'd misheard. "What? The building? This building?" Olivia gestured around them. "Apparently, he never actually signed it over to me. It's still owned by a Prescott Foods subsidiary, and he's arranged to sell it to developers. They're planning to demolish it for some new retail space." "He can't do that," Jack protested, though they both knew William Prescott could do exactly that. "He gave me an ultimatum," Olivia continued, her voice hollow. "Take the Chicago position or lose everything I've built here. We have 30 days before we need to vacate." Jack's mind raced, calculating options. "We could find another location." "In 30 days? With what capital?" Olivia shook her head. "And the equipment is all leased through Prescott subsidiaries too. He's made sure I have nothing without him." The defeat in her voice sparked something in Jack. Determination, protectiveness, anger. There has to be a way. The bakery is profitable now. What about a small business loan? "I've already called 3 banks," Olivia said. "The building alone would require at least $400,000, and none of them will approve a loan that size for a business with less than a year of profitability, no matter how good our recent numbers are." Jack ran a hand through his hair in frustration. "Let me make some calls. I still have contacts in financial services." But by evening, after a full day of calls and meetings, the outcome remained the same. No bank would risk the loan amount they needed, especially not with the 30-day timeline. The twins had picked up on the adults' distress and were unusually quiet as they helped clean up the bakery after closing. "Are we going to have to leave here?" Emma asked suddenly, her small voice cutting through the somber atmosphere. Olivia knelt down to eye level with the child. "The bakery might have to find a new home, sweet pea." "But you promised you wouldn't leave," Emma reminded her, lower lip trembling. Olivia gathered Emma into a tight hug, her eyes meeting Jack's over the child's shoulder. "I know, sweetheart. I'm trying my hardest to keep that promise." That evening, after the twins were asleep, Olivia began packing up non-essential bakery items. She worked methodically, wrapping cake stands and specialty pans in newspaper, her movements mechanical. "We're not giving up," Jack insisted, taking a stack of baking sheets from her hands and setting them aside. "I don't know what else to do," Olivia admitted, tears finally spilling over. "I've let everyone down. Marge, the customers, the twins, you." Jack pulled her close, feeling her tears soak into his shirt. "You haven't let anyone down. Your father manipulated this situation. Not you." "He's always been like this," Olivia said, her voice muffled against his chest. "Using money and power to control everything. I thought this time would be different. I thought I'd finally proven myself." "You have," Jack assured her. "The bakery is thriving because of you, your recipes, your vision, your connection with customers." They stayed that way for a long moment, finding comfort in each other's embrace, before Olivia pulled back with a sigh. "The twins made these for you," Jack said, retrieving 2 handmade cards from his jacket pocket. "They worked on them all afternoon." Olivia took the cards with trembling hands. Emma's featured a crayon drawing of 4 stick figures holding hands in front of what was clearly the bakery. "Please, don't go to Chicago," the childish handwriting pleaded. Ethan's card was more direct. "We need you here. Dad is happier with you." Fresh tears filled Olivia's eyes as she traced the children's words with her fingertip. "I don't want to leave them." "Or you." "Then we'll find a way," Jack promised, though he had no idea how to keep that promise. Later that night, after dropping Olivia at her house, Jack sat at his kitchen table staring at the bakery's financial projections. The numbers were excellent. They'd exceeded William Prescott's profit demands ahead of schedule. But that wasn't enough anymore. Now they needed capital, and quickly. Jack's gaze fell on the twins' backpacks hanging by the door, decorated with superhero stickers and crayon doodles. Beside them was the framed photo Emma had drawn of their bakery family. Herself, Ethan, Jack, and Olivia standing in front of Heartland Bakery. Something clicked in Jack's mind as he looked between the children's artwork and the bakery's financial projections. Prescott Foods wasn't just a corporate giant. It was a brand built on family values and hometown connections. Its marketing always emphasized community and tradition. What if the bakery wasn't just a profitable business, but a blueprint for something bigger? Something that could benefit Prescott Foods while preserving what Olivia had built. Jack reached for his phone, scrolling to find a contact he hadn't used in years. It was a long shot, but right now, long shots were all they had. "Hello, Thomas. It's Jack Miller. I need a favor. How quickly can you get me a meeting with William Prescott?" "Yes, the William Prescott. It's important. Tomorrow morning, if possible." After hanging up, Jack opened his laptop and began working feverishly, the outline of a plan taking shape in his mind. If he couldn't secure a loan to buy the building, perhaps he could convince William Prescott that selling it was against his own interests. It was nearly dawn when Jack finally closed his laptop, exhausted but hopeful. He had one shot to save the bakery, and the family they were building around it. Jack straightened his tie in the imposing glass lobby of Prescott Foods headquarters, grateful he'd kept one good suit from his corporate days. The receptionist had directed him to the 30th floor, where William Prescott's corner office awaited. "Mr. Prescott will see you now," his assistant announced, after a 15-minute wait that felt like hours. Jack took a deep breath and entered the office, a sleek space with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. William Prescott stood behind his massive desk, his expression guarded. "Mr. Miller." "This is unexpected," he gestured to a chair. "My assistant mentioned something about a proposal." "Thank you for seeing me, sir," Jack said, taking the offered seat and opening his laptop. "I believe I have a solution that benefits everyone involved with Heartland Bakery." William's expression remained impassive. "Including my daughter, who rejected a prime executive position to stay and play shopkeeper?" Jack refused to be baited. "Including Prescott Foods," he countered, turning his laptop to show the presentation he'd prepared. Heartland Bakery isn't just a successful small business. It's a blueprint for a new revenue stream for Prescott Foods. For the next 20 minutes, Jack outlined his proposal in detail. A new Prescott artisanal line featuring premium baked goods and specialty food items, with Heartland serving as the flagship location and test kitchen. He presented market research showing growing consumer demand for locally produced, artisanal foods, and projected financials demonstrating how the concept could be scaled to multiple locations. "Olivia has created something special," Jack concluded. "Not just delicious products, but a brand that resonates with the community in a way that larger corporate entities struggle to achieve. That authenticity is an asset to Prescott Foods, not a distraction." William Prescott leaned back in his chair, studying Jack thoughtfully. "You've put considerable effort into this overnight. When something matters, you make the effort," Jack replied simply. William nodded slowly, then reached for a folder on his desk. "Did you know I had a background check run on you when Olivia first hired you?" Jack tensed. "I assumed as much. Your reputation at Anderson & Reed was impressive. Meticulous, innovative, loyal to a fault." William opened the folder, revealing a familiar document. This building sale agreement. It was never real. Jack stared at him, uncomprehending. "I don't understand." "There are no developers," William explained. "No impending demolition. It was a test for both of you." "A test?" Jack repeated, anger rising in his throat, for Olivia to see if she would stand her ground or fold under pressure. For you, William's gaze sharpened, to see if you were truly committed to her success, or simply using her as a stepping stone while you looked for another corporate position. Jack's hands clenched into fists on his knees. You put her through hell for a test? I put her through a challenge that revealed her character. And yours. William closed the folder. Prescott Foods isn't just a company, Mr. Miller. It's a legacy. Someday Olivia will lead it, and I needed to know she has the right people beside her. So the bakery was always hers, William confirmed. And I find your artisanal line proposal intriguing. Your vision for expansion aligns well with our 5-year plan for diversification. Jack struggled to process this sudden reversal. Sir, with all due respect, why put Olivia through this emotional ordeal if you actually approved of the bakery? William's expression softened slightly. Because running Prescott Foods isn't about having good ideas. It's about fighting for them when challenged. Olivia needed to learn that lesson. He extended his hand. I believe we have the foundation for a partnership here, Mr. Miller. How would you feel about directing the financial side of this new artisanal division, working alongside Olivia? Jack stood, shaking the offered hand firmly. I'd like that very much, sir. Excellent. Now, let's go deliver the news to my daughter. Jack followed William Prescott's town car back to Heartland Bakery, his mind still reeling from their conversation. When they arrived, Olivia was at the counter, her expression shifting from surprise to wariness at the sight of her father. Dad? Jack? What's going on? She asked, stepping around the counter. We need to talk, Olivia, William said, but his tone was gentle. About the future of Heartland Bakery. For the next hour, they sat at a corner table while William explained the truth, and Jack outlined his proposal for the artisanal line. Olivia's expressions ranged from shock to outrage to tentative excitement as the full picture emerged. So, the bakery was never in danger? She clarified, still looking stunned. The building is yours, William confirmed. Consider it an early inheritance. Tears welled in Olivia's eyes. I don't know whether to hug you or never speak to you again. William laughed softly. Your mother would have chosen the latter. But then, she always came around eventually. 6 months later, Heartland Bakery had expanded to 3 locations, each serving as a showcase for the increasingly popular Prescott artisanal line. Jack and Olivia worked side by side as partners, their professional success mirrored by their deepening personal relationship. The original bakery remained their home base, with the twins now fixtures in both the kitchen and the small office they'd converted into a proper children's area for after-school hours. On the morning of the grand opening for their 3rd location, Jack arrived early to make final preparations. He placed a small velvet box inside one of Olivia's signature cinnamon rolls, his heart racing with anticipation. When Olivia arrived with the twins, Jack met them at the door with the special pastry. First taste test of the day, he announced, presenting it to her. Olivia took a bite, her eyebrows rising in confusion as her teeth met something solid. Carefully removing the object, she gasped at the diamond ring nestled in the cinnamon swirls. Jack dropped to one knee, taking the ring from her trembling fingers. Olivia Prescott, will you marry me and help me raise these 2 amazing kids? I promise to be your partner in everything, business, family, and life. Yes, Olivia cried, pulling him to his feet for a kiss as Emma and Ethan jumped around them, cheering. As Jack slipped the ring onto her finger, he marveled at how a single moment, stopping a robbery, losing his job, had changed their lives completely. What had seemed like his worst day had actually been the first step toward finding his family, his purpose, and the love that had been waiting just around the corner all along.